Hello everyone, welcome back to Module 3, Session 2, Understanding Balance as a Principle of Design. In this course, we'll dive into the details of one of the core principles, that is balance. Let's explore the principles of design. In the previous session, we have talked about why principles of design are important for any kind of visual design. Today, we'll talk about the balance. So, when we say balance is about visual weight and which is distributed across a composition. It creates a sense of stability and structure, helping the viewer feel at ease with the design. Now, we have two types of primary balance. Those are symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. Let's understand each one by one. In symmetrical balance, elements are arranged evenly around a central axis, like a mirror image. This type of balance is formal and gives a sense of calm and order. Whereas in asymmetrical balance, the elements are different on each side, but still visually balanced. This type of balance is dynamic and interesting, often create more visual energy than symmetry. Now, let's understand by taking an example. By now, you have understood why we are considering this example. This is our Taj Mahal, right? And if you see the composition, right, it's symmetrical in nature. You may ask how? Let's see. So if you create a line in the center of the composition, you can see one side is mirror of the other. So when we say mirror image, it's about repeating the same elements. The elements like pillars, right? Textures and the arches, and also sometimes some of the motifs, it might be similar in nature if we consider it in detail. So this is how most of the designers take the benefit of symmetrical composition. Here you will be also observing how you would like to balance each other side of the composition by using the similar element. As I said, this is symmetrical balance. Now let's take another example, that is our face. Primarily, we humans have a symmetrical representation, and you can see this in our face as an anatomy. So if we create a line in the center part of the image, which we have taken into consideration, you can see the elements associated to the face are repeating as a mirror image. So what I mean by that is, like, if you can see, the eyebrows are repeated as a mirror image, right? The eyes are repeated, the portion of the nose, lips, chin, even the ears are similar. So we say these are repeated, but again, when we consider the idea of symmetrical balance, this is also associated to the idea of visual balance. So if you can see this image in the right section of this slide, you can see how the visual weight is distributed in the context of seesaw. So this analogy will help you to understand how the idea of visual weight is equally distributed within a composition. Yes. So let's consider this poster now. This is created by Ludwig Holwein. He's a German graphic designer, and I would definitely request all of you to look at his work, which was very much popular at that time during the 1907. And this is a very interesting composition where you can see it talks about the restaurant, and the idea of the composition which is equally symmetrical in nature. So when I say symmetrical, definitely it's symmetrically balanced, not exactly mirror image. So when we create a line here, somewhere or the other, the idea of visual weight is equal. What I mean by that is, if you see the legs here, the dominance of this black is more compared to the other side, right? But again, this is balanced by using this white cloth as a representation. This is what I meant by visually balanced representation. So when you see this visual weights in the representation as a seesaw, right, you can easily see how the visual weight is equally distributed. And similarly, if you see the elements here, like the wine glass and the bottle, right, it's equal in nature. Next uh, poster is also famous. It was created by Julius Klinger. He was an Australian painter, draughtman, illustrator, commercial graphic artist, typographer, and writer. So in this image, you can clearly see the image is not at all symmetric in nature, right? Let's see how it's asymmetric in nature. So if you create a line, right? If we create a line in the center, which is both uh, vertical and horizontal, right? You can sense the right portion of this image is quite brighter in color, right? And here it's quite the darker in the overall representation. And you see how it's asymmetric in nature because the visual weight is distributed. So when you see the brighter colors, definitely your eyes will go here. But to balance there, the use of darker colors has been utilized in the same segment of the picture. Along with that, the use of other colors like darker colors has been tried to utilize to balance the overall dominance of it. So when you see this seesaw again, right, the visual weight distribution, yes, it's visually balanced, but yeah, the elements are differently addressed. Okay, so this is another way how you can see within a asymmetrically balanced composition how the visual weight can be easily distributed in a equal manner. Yes, so this is a very famous work by Iko Tanaka, who is a graphic designer, which is Japanese graphic designer, and he is very famous for including cultural imprints through his work. Sometimes he also used Japanese calligraphy to express his thought or any kind of composition. So this composition is a representation of Japanese dancer, also known as Nihon Buyo. So here you can see the overall composition seems to be very much geometric, right? But again, this is asymmetric in nature. But when we go through the detail, if we try to decipher it, how the overall idea of grid has been utilized to create asymmetrical balance, it's very interesting to see. We'll go through that. So if you create a line, right, two lines from the top to bottom of the portrait, again horizontal lines towards the other part of the composition, you can see it creates equal squares in all the segment of the composition. And that's very interesting to see how grid has been utilized to compose the overall artwork. Now if you see how the arrangement of eyes has been also taken into consideration with the square, like it's towards the lower segment of the square. Similarly, the mouth, right, is towards the lower segment of the square. And overall, if you see, the use of color, texture, and the grids plays an important role to create a symmetrically balanced composition. So hence, the visual weight is again distributed equally, although it's asymmetric in nature. And this is attained by using various geometrical shapes like square grids, color choices, arrangement of elements like shape, color, and textures. So when we talk about asymmetrical balance, there is another segment of asymmetrical balance where most of the photographers use it, and that's rule of third. So rule of third in photography is a composition technique that helps to create balance and a visually interesting images. Now let's see how rule of thirds are attained in a composition while you click a photo. So for the reference, let's take this as a point of discussions for our session, especially for the rule of third. Now imagine you divide this photo frame into 9 equal parts. Let's see how we divide it. So this is two vertical lines and two horizontal lines. Together it creates 9 different parts. And where the intersection is happening, right, you can see the character is almost close to that. And this is what rule of third talks about. Basically, when you divide the overall composition in this grid, only in the point of intersections, right, the characters or the subject can be kept to create asymmetrically balanced composition. And this is highly used by most of the photographers in day-to-day life. And again, I'm saying grids are just a guide. You can always break grids, or you can address the composition using grids. Now let's take another example of asymmetrical balance in digital world. So if you can see this image, this is a mock-up of how app designers create visually appealing designs in this such kind of platform. And most of the app, if it has a larger set of data, right, you can sense this kind of segment in the top portion, the logo, the product detail, and the image of the product here. And if you try to understand how the visual weight can be distributed in such compositions, there is a trick for that where most of the designers take benefit of it. This is how you look. You convert all the segment, all the elements into a square block and just see visually whether the overall composition seems to be visually or asymmetrically balanced or not. So here you can easily identify where are the visual weights and how it's looking in the overall composition. Similarly, this is another segment of the mockup where again we can look into the idea of visual weights, right? Let's see how it looks. Yes. So you can easily see how the overall visual weights is there in the composition, and it's always asymmetrically balanced. But now if you see this layer, right, if you see this composition, it has more closer to symmetrical balance. Let's see. Yes, so if you see how the blocks are mostly almost mirror image of each other, so that's why it feels like mostly symmetrical balance. Coming to the logo design, so this is our SBI logo, and on the right side is the Indian Post logo. So if you consider the balance, right, in the SBI logo is more symmetrically balanced, and the India Post logo is asymmetrically balanced. So how? Because if you create a line in the center of the SBI logo, right, so you can see the mirror image of the other side. But in case of India Post logo, you can see there is a variation of the typeface, right? Choice of typeface, which is Devanagari here. Here it's English. Apart from that, if you see this red square, the lines are very much dynamic in nature. So with that, if you consider the visual weight, both are balanced, but one is symmetrical in nature, one is asymmetrical in nature. So another example which we can also consider is our own IIT Hyderabad logo. So here if you see how the symmetry is happening. So primarily this is symmetrical balance, right? But how it's attained? This is attained by repetition of various geometrical shapes. So if you can see, these are different shapes which are repeated in a symmetrical way. And the choice of color, again, how the concept of warmth is represented through the idea of knowledge, right? And arrangement of elements like shape, color, and value. So here I'm pretty sure you know how what is value by now. So how the intensity of the red is orange is gradually getting brighter, and when you compile the overall image, it creates another image of 3D representation in that space, right? It feels like an open book, and this is how it's associated to the organization. So if you are jumping into a logo design or any kind of composition which you are where you are seeking balance or asymmetrical balance, definitely you can use the idea of this seesaw, where you are also trying to analyze to what extent both the segments are equally balanced or it's asymmetrically balanced. So with this, we are about to end this session, and let's recap what we have learned till now. So balance is essential in visual composition as it creates a sense of stability and order, making design feel more complete and intentional. This principle can be achieved in different ways. One is symmetrical balance, which we have taken multiple examples, which divides the elements evenly, that brings harmony and formality. Whereas in asymmetrical balance, it uses contrasting elements to create interest and movement. By balancing visual weight, designers ensure that the composition is visually engaging and approachable, guiding the viewer eyes naturally across the piece without overwhelming or leaving it feeling unfinished. So, with this, I would like to thank you for your time, right? And I hope you all have got some idea about the importance of balance as a design principle and how it can be achieved in visual communication. We'll end this session here and we'll meet in our next session where we will talk on emphasis in principles of design. Goodbye.